don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabel, and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host, Melissa. And we have some pretty awesome guests today, probably my most favorite guests out of all the guests we've ever had. And by awesome guests, I mean, you just got us today.
That'd be us.
So Melissa, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about how we do property inspections.
Right. And I think that it's super important to talk about because we've seen multiple questions on social media about, hey, I'm new to wholesaling or I'm new to investing. I'm going down on my first property inspection. What should I look for? Should I bring a contractor? Do I need to get an official inspection? All these different kind of questions. And hopefully we'll be able to answer some of them for you today. So
let me kick in. Okay.
Yes.
So to start off, when we get a property that we're interested in looking at, we do what we call pre-work. And so we're going to look at different things before we even make the appointment to go out there. Correct?
Right. Yeah, definitely. We want to learn as much as we can in a relatively short amount of time about the property. So we kind of know what to expect when we're going out there, and not just when we're going out there, when we're sending somebody else out there, it's even more important.
Right. One of the first things that I'd like to look at, just because we're in a storm, Hurricane Michael did a lot of damages. I want to look it up on Bay County and see what that picture looks like.
What is Bay County?
The Bay County Property Appraiser website. So, because they have a picture that's somewhat
recent. They have
it'll be post-storm, most likely.
An aerial image of the property. So we can see from the top down, we can tell a lot of times if there was a lot of damage from the storm, just a little bit of damage from the storm. If there's been repairs made, we can see if it's a new roof. We can tell if it's an old roof. We can see if the whole neighborhood is full of blue tarps. We're able to get a good idea of how the whole neighborhood kind of overall feel is.
Correct. And then we also can see, when they bought it, what they paid for it, and those kind of things before we look at Zillow. That's really the first thing that I do. I don't know if that's the first thing you do.
Yeah, I definitely look at that first. It also gives us a 99.9% chance it's going to be accurate on the square footage, the bedrooms, bathrooms, the lot size, all of those other questions that we may not have got the right answers to when either our cold callers or our lead specialists are talking to these people prior to setting up the appointment. Sometimes they don't take as good a notes as we'd like. And this is just a way for us to verify information so we know what we're walking into. This also prevents another problem where sometimes some people will pretend that they own a property and they want us to come look at it. Looking it up on the county website beforehand really saves us a lot of time from driving out to a property that either one, doesn't exist, or two, isn't owned by the person we're talking to. If they don't have a real viable story of why they're speaking on behalf of the person who's the owner of record, then we're not going to waste our time with it.
And maybe we'd like to share a little story about that, of why that's so important to do the pre-work, because we had one person who did not do that. Maybe you'd like to tell that story.
Right, absolutely. So we received a text message or we texted out. We got a response back, and the person said, here's my property address. I'm interested in you guys coming to take a look. And that was all of the pre-work that was done on that property. They said, I want $600,000 for this property, and I'll meet you there at 6:30 on Monday.
And so no pre-work was done whatsoever, even though we preach pre-work all the time.
And P-work too.
P-work, yes, that too.
So Monday rolls around, 6:30. Our acquisition specialist at the time rolls in and goes to the property. Well, that property's address is not on that street. So it's like 123 Main Street, 125 Main Street, and 127 Main Street. And the homeowner said it was 126 Main Street. It was not an address. So our acquisition specialist calls the homeowner and says, "Hey, I'm right here, but I can't find the address." And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's 123 Main Street. Just come on up and come on in. I'm in there." Well, she walks up to the door, knocks on it. There's nobody there. Come to find out, this isn't the person's home. He was just messing around. Well, that's a really good way to get shot, trying to walk into somebody's house at 6:45 in the morning unannounced. So we had to reinforce how important the pre-work is. Now, if we had verified the property address on the county assessor's website, verified the person that we were talking to was in fact the owner of that property, and if we would have looked at some of the values, we would have saw that every other house in that neighborhood was going for around $60,000, and this person wanted $600,000. So that should have set off a red flag. And if we had done any kind of pre-work at all, we would have known that something was up or something was fishy. And that situation could have been a lot worse. Really, all we did was lost a little bit of time, 30 minutes talking to this person, and then the drive over and the realization that our acquisition specialist had been lied to. But it could have resulted in a lot worse things happening. So we really, really want to do our pre-work beforehand. Some of the other things that we do for pre-work is
Hold
this.
on.
Well,
sorry. One other thing on Bay County, just because we have, we're speaking to you from mistakes that we probably made, is the ability to see the permits.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so when we always want to look at that before we go out there, especially because of the Hurricane Michael damaged homes, because they'll say that their roof has been permitted and we can look on there and see that it's not.
Right. And we have found some things that said they were permitted that didn't show up on the assessor's website that wasn't accurate, but that gives us a good idea of what we need to dig deeper into. And that's really what it's about. We are verifying these different pieces of information, one from the homeowner, one from the Bay County website, and then the other resources that we have, and trying to get an overall picture of what's going on with the property. And a lot of times, right after the storm, people were getting work done without permitted work, without licensed and bonded contractors. And there's a lot of issues with that. And it costs a lot of money and a lot of time to go back and get something permitted after, especially something like a roof, especially if there's any mistakes.
Correct. Yes. And so we also do some other pre-work, as in then JD will make sure, I don't know if you want to skip to this or if there's something in between, then JD will start running the numbers to make sure that we're even in the same, that it's worth going to make sure it's not something that somebody has way overpriced.
Right. And if they do have it way overpriced, really what the after repair values that we start to look for gives us an idea of what the property is. But one of the key indicators that we found in motivation is identifying what that price is. Either one, that they identify a price, two, that they're reasonable on that price. That's what's going to turn it into a wholesale deal. If they're wanting market value, we still have the ability to do a listing and help them get the property listed and do stuff like that. So we'll look at it from that point of view as well. But as far as wholesaling goes, if they want full market value and they've said that the roof's messed up, the foundation's messed up, there's no drywall, everything's messed up, and we realize that they probably don't really want to sell that property. It's just, they just talked to us because we called, they're bored, they don't have anything better to do, but they're not really looking to sell or have a problem that selling their property would solve, then we want to screen that out before we ever go on the appointment.
Right. And then also to add in on that, we have to make sure where we are is about that the houses don't need to be torn down. They might represent it as something that we could buy and rehab, but they might actually not be able to rebuild or rehab that house. Sorry.
Right. And that is more based off of the flood zone that it's in. And the county has if the house was damaged greater than 50%, then it has to be built back to current building codes. And if those codes from when that property was built originally have changed to what they are now, that could be a significant problem. And a lot of times homeowners know what that situation is beforehand, but they're not readily providing that information, especially if they're trying to do an off-market sale.
Correct. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. I guess we look at all this information, try to get a good picture of what the property is. And it sounds like a big thing, but really we're checking 1 or 2 websites and then running comps, and then trying to get an estimate, a rough estimate based off of their repair descriptions, the description that they give us of the repairs. So we get a ballpark where our price is going to be at as far as what we can afford to pay after you consider all of our closing costs, our agent fees, our holding costs, all that kind of stuff, and then the repairs. So that way, when we get to the property, there's 2 ways we do this. Either the homeowner's at the property or the property's vacant. But either way, when we're at the property, our main goal is to establish rapport and do a rough estimate of what the repairs are going to cost.
And sometimes that takes a long time, that established rapport. And lots of long conversations about stuff.
That's super fun and super awesome for me, and sometimes a struggle for other members on our team.
Right. Other members who are thinking, I have 10 other things to do and I don't want to talk about the dog. Okay. Sorry.
But talking about the dog's important. So the other pre-work, we like to get to our appointments a little bit early. That way we can drive the neighborhood. Just like looking at the top-down picture from the assessor's website, we want to drive and see, is the next door neighbor clean? Is this a renter's neighborhood? Is this an owner's neighborhood? Is there anything that you can't see online that you can experience in real life? So like smells. There's one neighborhood in our market that has a horrible smell because of a paper mill, and on paper and online it looks like the greatest place ever, but if you're there on the bad day and the wind's blowing the wrong way, you couldn't pay me $1 million to live there. And that really does have an effect on value. So we want to see all that stuff live and in person.
Yeah, definitely. And because other investors, if it's a deal that we're going to wholesale, they know that area. And so they know right away, I don't want to do any purchases over there. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So after we show up early and we do the drive of the neighborhood, sometimes we don't show up early, but we should. We go and park at the house. I think first we should go into what our property inspection looks like with a person there, and then what it's just a little bit different when it's vacant. So we show up a little bit early and meet the homeowner, and from this point forward we're really establishing the rapport with the homeowner, trying to get them to be comfortable with us, explain their situation and their story. And that's where we start asking our open-ended questions, our problem, impact, picture perfect type questions, and really just having a real conversation and listening to that homeowner.
Like, all about the dog and the babies the dog had and what kind of breed the dog is and the dog's habits. Those kind of things that are really important.
They are. Yeah. They're super important. There's other things too, and we can learn a lot about the homeowner's motivation, which helps us later on when we're trying to craft our offer.
True.
And that's really what we're looking for.
Right.
Is information that helps us stand out from our competitors on ways that we specifically can provide value to the homeowner. Now, as far as what our inspection always looks like, we do have our own property repair sheet that we use, which I'm going to put online so that other people can take a look at it and see. It'll probably be on our uploaded to our Real Estate Jam Facebook page. You guys can go and get it there. The way that I like to explain it is we start from the outside in, top to bottom. And that's really the way that we take our pictures. That's the way that we make sure that we don't miss anything. We really want to be systematic and thorough while we're looking at stuff so that we don't miss anything that would affect what our purchase price is later, forcing us to come back in and renegotiate or make us lose a deal because we didn't account for it in the first place. Melissa, can you tell us, what it is specifically that we're looking at as we come up to the property?
Sure, JD. I would love to.
I know you would.
I like to look at certain things like roofs. Do we need a new roof? Because that's, a big ticket item. We like to look at the HVAC because there's like 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get the roof, the HVAC, plumbing, electric, and the foundation. We don't tend to run into a ton of foundation issues here like we would in Texas.
No.
But once in a while, but we run into everybody needs a roof just about. Or they've gotten a roof and everything else is missing inside or needs to be redone. So those are what I'm looking at. And of course, I really want to look at the neighborhood. That's huge.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think we do a walk around to the outside of the house. We look at the roof, soffit, fascia, the gutters, the exterior of the property. That's where we hit up the air conditioner unit or the condenser unit on the outside. We look at how the power is coming into the house. The way I run the inspections when I try to start in the living room or the main door to the house, and we're taking pictures with permission of the homeowner, if we can take pictures, and then we're going through and documenting everything so that we can discuss it later. When you're going on 10 or 15 appointments a week, it's really important to document the properties you're looking at because you're going to forget some of the details. I always like to take a picture from opposite corners in a room and then any specific damage. And if the homeowner's there and present, I don't call anything out, but I will ask them, hey, is there anything that we should know about that maybe we can't see? And the last time I did that, they said, well, the drain in the kitchen doesn't work. So that's probably going to have to be repaired. And that's just something that I add to my notes, write it down. Now, we're following our property inspection report. And it's just the way that we enter into a house is the way we check it off. And making a little cheat sheet like that is super, super beneficial because it's going to allow you to, like I said before, be systematic and thorough in the way that you go through the house, almost as if it's a search for problems. And if you do it the same way every time, you don't really miss anything. I like to start in the main rooms, the living room, then to the kitchen dining room, then to any other main room, followed by the bedrooms. And if there's a basement or attic access, and then ending with the garage. I don't know, Melissa, do you do it the same way?
Sure. And if it's really gross, I just stand outside and I do outside pictures.
And then I have to go crawling through mountains of garbage and other fun stuff.
Make sure you always have a mask, even though I'm not a big mask person because of the mold stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of mold here.
Gross.
Fecal matter. Maybe we can attach some of the photos from our most recent property.
It's gross.
So we end up now, if we're with a homeowner, we're talking to them the whole time. And if we've done our pre-work the right way and know what the after repair value is and are able to run all of our additional expenses and everything before we get there, me and Melissa usually are pretty close on what our repair costs are just by looking at it because we've looked at a whole bunch of them. And on our cheat sheet, our checklist, we do have certain prices for different things, and that gives us a rough estimate. We can always add 20% for unknowns. Then really we're just doing simple math. What our profit is a wholesaler minus that from everything that we've already calculated. And that gives us what our offer is going to be. If the homeowner's there and the situation is right, we want to present the offer right then and try to get them under contract. That's not always the case. And sometimes we're not with the homeowner, we're with a friend or somebody who doesn't have the authority to do that. Or sometimes they're not even there and we're just there taking pictures.
But then also, if they're there, we're kind of laying some groundwork of where where we're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect time to drop price anchors and talk about what other investors in the area are paying for properties, and that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we can do another video on how to present offers and what that part looks like, because that could be its own video all to itself.
For sure, especially about mobile homes.
We've done a lot of offering, but we haven't done a lot of getting offers signed yet.
I just want to own a mobile home.
Melissa wants to be the trailer park queen.
I do, yes.
What is a mobile home?
Queen of the double I.
Queen of the double I, the mobile home maiden.
Yes.
Bring her back to her roots.
And we are going to do it this year. I assure you.
We are working on it. And I guess these are for this type of process is going to be different for every company. If you're not wholesaling, you're only rehabbing, you might want to bring your contractor along with you. You might want to do those kind of things. That's not the way that we do it. But there's no real right or wrong way. If you're doing it the same way every time, you can make adjustments to how you do it. And it just takes a little bit of practice, I think.
Yep. For sure.
So Melissa, where can everybody find us and where should we send them?
Well, you can find us at Shorefront Investments.
Shorefrontinvestments.com, Shorefront Investments on Facebook.
Wait, shorefront-investments.com that's our webpage, and on Facebook, Shorefront Investments, or our other page is Shorefront Vacations, because we would love to have you at our short terms. Yeah, if somebody wanted to rent out a short term, they could definitely do it. Panama City Beach, Florida. Beautiful beaches ever. They're awesome. Okay, well, like I said before, this was my favorite guests ever. I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you have questions, make sure to hit us up. Like I said before, we're going to put a copy of our inspection report and probably my cash flow calculator on our Facebook page, so you guys can go and get it there, the Real Estate Jam Facebook page. And wait. So next time, I hope to be telling you about our sweet ass deal that we got going on that we're hoping to get. Right. Well, keep your fingers crossed. Till next time. Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.